You ever lie in bed at night, staring into the darkness, your body completely exhausted, yet your mind feels more awake than ever? A single memory appears, then another. A conversation, a decision, something you said, something you didn't say. And before you realize it, your mind is replaying moments from years ago, analyzing tone, timing, meaning, wondering if you were misunderstood, or worse, accurately understood. If this feels familiar, listen carefully. This is not a flaw. This is not weakness. And it is not something that needs to be fixed. It is a sign of a mind designed for depth. Most people misunderstand overthinking. They reduce it to anxiety or insecurity. They assume it comes from fear, self-doubt, or emotional instability. But those explanations are incomplete. Overthinking is not a breakdown of mental control. It is a surplus of cognitive energy without direction. Your brain is not malfunctioning. It is operating at high resolution. At its core, overthinking is advanced mental simulation. Your mind continuously models reality. It tests outcomes. It replays experiences. It anticipates consequences. This is not accidental behavior. It is an evolved survival function. The human brain developed this capacity to predict danger, navigate social complexity, and learn from subtle patterns. Some minds run this system lightly, others run it constantly. Low-load minds disengage easily. They feel calm because they simplify reality. High-load minds stay engaged. They feel tension because they refuse to ignore complexity. This difference explains why overthinkers often feel out of sync with the world. Their quiet isn't emptiness, it's active processing. Neuroscience helps explain why this happens. When external stimulation drops, when you are alone, quiet, or still, your brain does not rest. It switches networks. This network is called the Default Mode Network. The Default Mode Network activates when you are not focused on the outside world. It handles self-reflection, memory integration, imagination, identity construction, moral reasoning, and long-term planning. It is the system that asks, who am I? What does this mean? Where is this going? Research consistently shows that this network is more active in people who score high in creativity, abstract reasoning, and introspective intelligence. That means when your mind wanders, it isn't wasting time. It's organizing experience. This is why some people generate insights in silence, why ideas appear during walks, showers, or sleepless nights, why stillness often feels uncomfortable before it becomes productive. Your brain needs quiet to integrate complexity, but here's the critical problem. The default mode network has no natural off switch. Without guidance, it does not discriminate between productive reflection and unproductive rumination. It will analyze anything, including imagined threats. This is where overthinking turns painful. Your mind locks onto unresolved questions. Did I say the wrong thing? What if I made a mistake? What if I missed something important? What if there's something wrong with me? The brain hates uncertainty, so it keeps returning to the same loop, searching for resolution, again and again and again. This persistence is not weakness. It is cognitive endurance. And here's the paradox most people never hear. The same neural circuits involved in rumination are also responsible for originality and insight. The difference is not intelligence, it is structure. Unstructured thought collapses inward. Structured thought expands outward. So the question becomes, how do overthinkers convert mental overload into clarity? The first shift is physical. Thoughts carry emotional weight when they stay internal. When everything happens inside your head, ideas fuse with emotion. Writing breaks that fusion. The moment you externalize a thought, it becomes an object instead of a threat. This is why writing calms the mind without dulling it. Overthinkers don't lack discipline, they lack containment. Journals, notes, diagrams, outlines, these are not productivity tools. They are cognitive safety mechanisms. They give complex minds somewhere to rest. The second shift is cognitive. Stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what problem is my brain trying to solve? This reframes overthinking from dysfunction to purpose. Your mind is not attacking you. It is attempting to protect you, prepare you, or understand something important. It simply does not know when to stop. When you name the loop, you reduce its emotional intensity. Fear thrives in vagueness. Clarity weakens it. The third shift is neurological. Your default mode network does not need to be silenced. It needs to be guided. Most modern advice tells overthinkers to distract themselves, scroll more, consume more, stay busy. But distraction does not resolve overthinking. It postpones it. The unresolved thought waits patiently. Intentional reflection is different. It means setting boundaries for thinking, choosing specific questions, allowing depth but not endlessness. Reflection without structure creates anxiety. Reflection with intention creates insight. That distinction changes everything. Here is a truth that reframes anxiety completely. Anxiety is not low intelligence. It is high intelligence operating without orientation. Highly intelligent minds are sensitive to complexity. They detect nuance, contradiction, and possibility. They resist oversimplification, and that resistance creates friction. There are two broad cognitive styles. One reduces complexity to maintain comfort. The other tolerates discomfort to pursue understanding. If you overthink, it is because your brain refuses shallow conclusions. You do not crave reassurance, you crave coherence. That desire makes life more difficult, but it also makes meaning possible. Overthinking becomes destructive only when you fight your nature instead of guiding it. You do not need silence, you need structured solitude. You do not need fewer thoughts, you need better questions. You do not need to stop thinking, you need to learn how to steer. When that happens, something remarkable occurs. The same mind that once spiraled begins synthesizing insight. The same sensitivity that once overwhelmed you becomes precision. The same inner noise transforms into creative signal. Overthinkers often excel as writers, strategists, designers, researchers, philosophers, and innovators once their cognition is properly directed. The trait never changed, only the relationship to it did. So here's the question that matters most. Do you overthink because you are afraid, or because you perceive more than others? That answer defines your path. If your mind never truly shuts down, if silence feels loud, if complexity attracts you more than simplicity, there is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are unfinished. And learning to guide your mind is the difference between quiet suffering and meaningful creation. One more thing matters, and it's rarely talked about. Overthinking becomes especially intense in people who care deeply about accuracy. Not just emotional accuracy, but moral, social, and intellectual accuracy. You replay conversations because you want to understand what actually happened. You analyze decisions because you want to know whether they were aligned with who you are. You imagine alternate outcomes because you are sensitive to consequence. This is not indecision. It is responsibility taken inward. Many overthinkers grew up learning that mistakes had weight, that words mattered, that being misunderstood carried consequences. So the mind adapted. It learned to simulate before acting, to rehearse before speaking, to analyze before committing. Over time, this survival strategy became a thinking style, and while it can create tension, it also creates depth. Overthinkers tend to see long arcs instead of short moments. They notice emotional undercurrents others overlook. They sense when something is off long before it becomes obvious. This is why they often feel older than their age, why they struggle with shallow conversations, why silence feels meaningful rather than empty. But this depth only becomes a gift when it is honored instead of suppressed. Trying to become less thoughtful doesn't bring peace. It creates internal conflict. Peace comes from alignment, from allowing the mind to do what it does best, but giving it direction, limits, and purpose. When an overthinking mind is respected, it stops fighting itself. And when it stops fighting itself, it becomes one of the most powerful tools a human being can have. Not loud, not flashy, but precise, insightful, and quietly transformative.